Summertime is heating up at Global Voice Broadcasting. Hot music, hot talk, and hot topics. All day, every day, 24/7. You don't want to miss a minute on Global Voice Broadcasting.
I highly recommend Ms. Hicks. Her books, her CDs are encouraging.
I bought her book, A Hill to Climb. She's a very inspirational speaker.
And I look forward to one day being able to work with her.
Your power lies within you. Let it loose.
Aspiration, inspiration, motivation, edification, determination. These are the keys of life success brought to you by none other than award-winning author, motivational lecturer, business consultant, and much more as she gets you aimed to your purpose. And now, ladies and gentlemen, young and elder, from Hollywood to the entire world, here is your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, Louise Hicks, along with her co-host, yours truly, Kennon Wesley Mason.
Hello, world. Hello, world. How's everybody today? This is
Hello, world. It's the 2-year anniversary of Aim to Purpose, the radio show. So first, we want to thank everyone at Global...
Hello, world. Apparently, the music kept going a little bit longer. I'm your host, Louise Hicks of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, and I'd like to welcome everybody.
Yes, and I am your co-host, Kennon Wesley Mason. And, of course, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone listening and watching Aim to Purpose, the radio show, as we broadcast live once again from Global Voice Broadcasting. And as you can tell, I'm in the studio. I'm holding down the fort for the next few weeks. As you can see my mom's picture right there, as she will be out of town, but Skyping in, as the host will always be the host, and she will always be here to host. Are you there?
Hello.
Yes.
I think I may have lost the connection. As you just said, I am out of town calling in, and
we hear you perfect.
I think we may have a little difficulty because I can't hear, but the show must go on. So Ken and everybody, if you can hear me, continue on.
Yeah, we hear you just fine. So we're going to see if we can get you back up so the whole world can hear you loud and clear. But moving forward, today's topic, investophobia, erasing investment fears and reaching financial freedom, with our special guest today, Paul E. Puckett Jr. And this is going to be a definitely interesting show, as many people have phobias and fears of stepping out on faith and investing in themselves. So,
and that is so true. When people don't think about the consequences of not allowing your power, as my tagline always say, your power lies within you, let it loose. And that's what we have to do. And we have a great guest, as Ken just said. Our topic today, investophobia, erasing investment fears and reaching financial freedom. And I know all of us would love to reach financial freedom. And before we bring up our special guest on, Paul, we always share with you a little bit about how our weekend went and what we did. And I'm having a great weekend. I went out of town for a few weeks, and therefore you'll be hearing from me and seeing my picture, but I won't be in the studio for a little bit there. But the show still goes on, and we are here to continue to inspire you. I had a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to sharing more wonderful information, especially today. And Ken, how was your weekend? Since I wasn't where you are in California, how's your weekend going? How did it go?
My weekend went great. Just spent some wonderful quality time with my daughter and your granddaughter, so it's always great to have that time. So my weekend was great, as always.
great. And we will be bringing Paul on in a little bit because we know it's something always important that we should talk about our finances, and we tend to get into these conversations and they go on. So without further ado, what we're going to do is take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to bring our special guest on the show so that we can go ahead and start talking about our topic for today, investor phobia, erasing investment fears, and reaching financial freedom. So let's take a break, and we're going to come back, and we'll talk to Paul.
Yes, Aim to Purpose, the radio show, Investophobia, erasing investment fears, and reaching financial freedom. Our special guest will be Paul E. Puckett, Jr. We'll be right back.
And Ken, why don't you show that video when you come back of Paul talking, and they can get a look at Paul, and then you read Paul's bio. Why don't we do that after the commercial? Come back and show Paul's video.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Hello, world! It's the 2-year anniversary of Aim to Purpose, the radio show. So first, we want to thank everyone at Global Voice Broadcasting for the opportunity to share our views and opinions with the global audience. Go to gbbstudios.com/show/A2P. Next, we thank our wonderful guests that have graced the airwaves of A2P throughout the second year. Guests like U.S. President of Citizens Commission on Human Rights, Bruce Wiseman, author and founder of World Class Wrecking Crew, Alonzo Williams, retired family practitioner and author, Dr. Gary Coles, M.D., minister and life coach, Jewel Diamond Taylor, Dr. Fitness USA, Stephen Hersey, author of Holy Lockdown, Jeremiah Kamara, legendary actor, film director, and producer, Bill Duke, author and holistic health advocate, Dr. Layla Ali, author and speaker, Carrie Zane, Dr. O from Wellness Group of America, and many other guests that have openly shared their stories, knowledge, humor, wit, and wisdom with the A2P universe. And most of all, we thank you, the listening and viewing audience, for tuning in each and every week and tuning in to our archive shows on YouTube at Aim to Purpose Radio. Information is power, and the more our audience grows, the more we can give back to the audience, which makes all of us powerful. So we encourage all of you to spread the word about Aim to Purpose, the radio show. Lastly, if you'd like to advertise or sponsor the show, contact Shamika Brown at 1-818-533-8463. So keep tuning in as we continue into our third year, and we thank you again. This is Kennon Mason, co-host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show.
Hello, world. We are back. Once again, I'm your host, Louise Hicks, along with my son, Kennon Wesley Mason, and we are going to share a video right quick. Oh, share that video before we introduce Paul.
Yes, we got it right here.
Okay.
This is Paul Puckett, your host of Getting There, here in Virginia Beach, on the somber Monday after the S&P downgrade. You see, we've entered a period of uncertainty. We have. How can we possibly handle uncertainty? What should we do? What steps should we take as we enter this new period of uncertainty? I don't know about you, but I don't think we have to make any adjustments. You see, we've never lived in certainty, have we? Think about it, and have a great day. I'll see you soon.
Okay, there you have it. So why don't we read Paul's bio and let you know a little bit more about Paul?
Yes, Paul Puckett is an investment advisor, investment consultant, insurance agent, speaker, and author of 2 books, Investophobia, Overcome Your Deepest Investment Fears, and Retirement Income Lock. With more than 20 years in the industry and experience in almost all areas of financial service, he has observed tremendous anxiety and uncertainty in investors and realized people were all suffering from a condition created by their own fears. Investophobia is the abnormal, paralyzing, and irrational fear of anything related to investing, investment professionals, and investment products. Investophobia causes poor investment performance by preventing sound financial decisions. Paul's book provides investors with the ability to invest without fear. So let's give a warm, aim-to-purpose welcome to our special guest, Paul E. Puckett Jr.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
Doing fine, Louise. Kennon, it's a pleasure to be on Aim to Purpose Radio.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to have you. And I love that word, investophobia. Did you make that up, Paul?
I made the word up, and I've always wondered what I was thinking in writing a book. It's a really cool word, but you have to recognize your fear and think you can overcome it before you would actually want to grab my book. I should have said probably live life to the fullest and then had a book about getting over investophobia. But no, I did make up the word. It seemed to describe the problem.
Right. And it makes sense, too, the word investophobia.
I love it. I'm going to have to use that one because I know a lot of people have investophobia. I mean, I was one of them once upon a time, and I'm so glad that I have to let you know that we're happy that AJ and April introduced you to us because we always like to have great guests who can impart information that is relevant and to help us to get out of the many fears because fear can hold us back. And Paul, you became an investment advisor and author. What inspired you to do all these things? Did you have investophobia yourself?
No, I had a fear of flying that was at the level of a phobia. And, when a psychologist or a psychiatrist or somebody trained in all this hears you and I talking about fear, they may be shaking their head saying they're talking about phobia. But to you and I in the audience, the simple difference with the thing that we call paralyzing fear is a phobia is irrational. It is continuous, and it prevents you from being able, really, to live happily and make decisions without them being impacted. So let me give you an example of why I wrote the book. Mm-hmm. My fear of flying, plenty of people, they don't get really thrilled about getting on a plane, but they don't really experience the fear until the first bounce.
Right.
Or the captain comes on and says, seatbelts only, we may have a problem, I'll get back to you, Right. And suddenly they have a fear. That's fear. Okay. One of my favorite, I guess you could say classical pieces of music is George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. Mm-hmm. That happens to be the music that goes with United Airlines commercials. So my fear of flying was at a level where if I heard Rhapsody in Blue, saw a United Airlines commercial, saw a jet in the sky, or dropped a friend off at the airport, my spine would tingle because I knew one day I'll be on a plane.
Right.
Now, fortunately, I'm over that problem now. And I actually opened the book with that short page-and-a-half story of my flight to Italy where 45 minutes in, I look around and I realize everybody else is having fun.
Right. That's right.
I mean, okay, if we all, the thing that we all fear happens, wouldn't it be more fun to at least be happy until that, lasts a little bit?
That's right. That's right.
And that got me thinking. Now, the book is about every single fear that's in the book is about a person. Or more than one person there's 18 different types of investophobia. Major publishers wanted me to narrow it to 3. And I said, well, I can't really do that because this is how many I've observed in prospects and clients. But every one of them has a person behind it and then a solution for what that person needs to get past their fear. So it was a lot of fun. It was supposed to be a 4-page pamphlet. And it ended up being
about that. I'm going to have to get your book, and I do apologize for not having it now, but I will get the book and I will read because I love to read. And I love this video that you open your went to after the commercial, because you were talking about the period of uncertainty. And what is that all about? Because we know life is, people talk about money, and money is not your life, or is it your life? Because sometimes we think too much, I think, about money, and we need to put it in perspective. And what are your thoughts on what you said in the video, the period of uncertainty versus certainty? Because there is no certainty, is it?
Not really. I mean, I've heard there's a certainty, Kennon will agree with this, of the love of a mother for their son.
Right.
The love of a child for their parents. There are some things in life are certain, and the funny part is the only things that are certain are truly valuable, much more than money can be. And so short little videos, I came to the conclusion that 60 seconds, which is about how long that video was, and of course there's probably 20 seconds introducing it. My purpose in doing those is to get people to sort of stop and think for a minute, because we see headlines and we see stories in the media, and I'm not just talking about investing, on anything, that get really hyped, and we can accidentally buy into that story, and it can affect how we feel. And, one of the things that I try to make the point with that video, for instance, and with everything I do, and I know you all are aimed to purpose, if you don't mind me using that phrase. You all have a purpose in what you do, and we share that. My purpose is to get people to think for a minute and realize the only thing they can control, truly control, is themselves.
That's right.
And so, when you see, I think I did that video because I saw 10 or 15 headlines saying that video I think was back 2011 or so. I picked it because it's nice and short, and quite frankly, that was everybody's favorite. But, every headline when I woke up that morning, I go straight to the coffee shop, as you probably could tell from the video, or I make it myself.
Yeah.
And, I go straight, I'm having my espresso, and I pull out my smartphone, and I start looking at news, and it's like, the U.S. has entered a period of uncertainty. Uncertainty confuses investors, whatever. And I looked over at one of the other fellows that, we sit around drinking coffee, and occasionally we'll chat about something. And I said, just out of curiosity, Mark, have you ever lived in a period of certainty? And he looked at me and he said, don't ask me stupid questions in the morning. There's nothing certain. And went back to what he was doing. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a little short video.
Right.
Raising that point. And that was really the whole purpose of the book, was we find ourselves sometimes very unhappy, and sometimes even develop anger at other people that seem to have the things that we don't.
Right.
And if you think about it, that is often only A, hurting ourselves, and B, it's blocking us. I loved when you said fear blocking a minute ago, Louise. It's blocking us from moving to where we could move, to where we could be if we chose to. And so one of the things I say in the book is fear is a choice. The thing that sometimes you write something and it's from your subconscious and you don't realize you just wrote something pretty good. Money is not your life, or at least it shouldn't be. What that means to me is money's just a tool. The things that have real value, sort of like MasterCard says, are priceless. So if I offered, for instance, to buy a year, if I told you I could do it and I offered to buy a year of your life or a day of your life, what would the price tag be for that?
Right.
How would you set it?
Right.
And if that's true, then why do we throw away our time needlessly pursuing some investment deal or something? I'm not saying you shouldn't invest at all. I'm saying, it's sort of like working out. Work out, but don't obsess on it. Live your life.
I understand what you're saying, because it makes sense. The certainty in terms of our money, is there any certainty in terms of investing or your money?
Well, in some ways, I'll tell you this, it may be more comparable to religion in some ways. I can tell you investing in the stock market in a diversified portfolio, I'm going to briefly sound like an investment advisor, using exchange traded funds or mutual funds, you've got diversity, you put your money in there and you leave it alone for 20 years. There hasn't been a time period yet where that wouldn't have a positive rate of return. But the real answer to your question is faith, which is more religious. You know that if you spend less than you earn and you keep some of the money in an emergency fund, that's important. Maybe you get some life insurance if you have children, to cover them if something should happen to you, low cost term, whatever. You cover your bases, but at some point, you need to grow your wealth. And that may be through a real estate investment. It may be, the main thing is to be diversified. But the way a lot of people got wealthy is not being diversified. They invested all their money in their own business.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's a win or lose proposition. So I always say, if you've got that business going, pull some off the table, and get it somewhere else so that you're protected. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's important because a lot of times we go out and we invest our money. Some of us don't have that kind of money to invest. People think that you can only invest actually when you have lots of money, but can't you start with a small amount of money? Anybody can invest and become wealthy, right? But you have to make sure that you invest your money, you pick the right financial person. How do you match yourself with an investment advisor? Because I know a lot of times there are many out here, and some of them have misled people, and people have lost the shirt off their backs. So what do you look for in an investment advisor to help you to do the right or the best investment for yourself?
It's funny that you bring that up, Louise, because you haven't read the book, but the first 2/3 were written about the fears people have about money and how to get past that fear. So I had that section completed, and then I thought, the book just ends? Okay, now you're over your fear. Have a nice day. See you. Bye.
Right.
At that point, it occurred to me something. I've been in the industry for years, but I never really verbalized to myself this thought. The happiest people on the investing side I know, unless they just love, doing it, delegate that duty to somebody they trust. And so I find myself writing the conclusion of Investophobia, find somebody you trust. Well, I woke up the next morning and I thought, gee, that's really good advice. So how do you do that? So the last third of the book actually could be a standalone separate book. It's how to find and choose your financial guide. And I use the word guide because, from a regulatory standpoint, if, I have my own show and, I do a disclosure. Hi, I'm Paul Puckett. I'm an investment advisor representative, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But in reality, from your perspective as the investor, you're looking for a guide. You're not looking to be sold something. You're not looking to get into the latest fad. You're looking for a guide to say, I've worked with other people that are your age. I see what you're trying to do. Here are a couple different ways to do it. What do you think?
Right.
And it's sort of funny. I met the book is endorsed by one of the top certified financial planners in the country, and I'm not a CFP. And I thought when it was suggested I show him the book, I thought, he's not going to endorse a book that, written by a non-CFP. And particularly in the criteria I provide in the last part of the book, I do include designations, but it's like fourth from the top or third from the top. I believe experience is second. But guess what I put first?
What?
Chemistry.
Chemistry.
Oh, okay.
If you don't have good, and this is for both parties, this is for both the advisor and the client. If since it's an election year, I'll use an election analogy. If you screen an investment person and you go to their office to meet with them, and you are a diehard Republican, And prominently displayed behind their desk is a picture of him shaking hands with Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or Ted Kennedy. Pick somebody.
Right.
You may feel this, oh boy, and by the same token, if you're a lifelong Democrat and you sit down in an office and they're shaking hands with Ronald Reagan and there's a red hat that says "Make America Great Again" lying on the credenza, they may be a great professional, but do you connect with them?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That connection, for instance, you and Louise Kennon have it, but your mother and son. Now, not all mothers and sons have it, but we develop a connection over time. And what I say in the book is, don't let little stuff get in the way of your improvement.
Right.
There are good people out there. There are also people who aren't necessarily. My theory is, it's not that investment people, for the most part, want to make you screw up with your money.
Right.
It's that the way the industry is designed, first of all, it takes a few years to really know what you're doing. And then you've got to find an environment where they'll let you do what you need to do without saying, hey, listen, I know you're doing a great job for your clients. Listen, we just made this great deal with the Franklin funds and we need to push those. And I'm not knocking Franklin, by the way. I chose that name because it's a very good fund family, but and it's not their fault. Right. And then all of a sudden you're selling something to somebody not because they need it, but because you get to go to Aruba for a week. And so but see, that's all behind the scenes. The average client's not going to see that. So it comes down to, what's your chemistry? Do you understand what they're doing? And I don't mean at the minutia level. Do you understand your investment portfolio as well as you do your car?
Right.
All right. You don't need how to change the oil. You just need to know that your mechanic does.
Right.
And hopefully how the brakes work.
That's right. Because everybody's not an investment genius. Like you said, make the car analogy. People, I'm not the best mechanic. I know a few things, but if I want some professional help, I'm going to take it to the people that have the more wherewithal or know-how than I do.
Exactly. And I don't want to lose a question Louise asked a second ago, which is, can anybody be wealthy? And the answer is yes. And the second answer is, they already are.
Right.
Now, what do I mean? Well, if we go back to...
People will say, they'll hear you, they'll say, well, Paul, I'm not wealthy. I'm struggling here, and I need some money. I need it now. And, we live in the age of... these young people who want it now, like sticking it in the microwave and pulling it out right now. So, explain that you're already wealthy, because they need to understand that we all do. And I like how you summed it up here with how you find the right advisor, which is breaks down to chemistry and understanding. They help you to understand. That's why we need experts in their field. But so if everyone can be wealthy, and we're already wealthy, explain that, please.
Everyone can be wealthy monetarily, meaning money.
Correct.
Okay. Everybody already is wealthy because we're here.
Right. That's right.
Now, you may not be as well off financially as your neighbor, but I'll give you a different take on a common topic in the news: income or wealth disparity. Now, does it exist? Yes. But is all of it because somebody pays men more than women, somebody pays white people more than minority, of any kind, somebody only likes people from the South, whatever? No, the majority of it is an obvious thing that never gets covered in the news. So I'll give you an example. One of my happiest clients is also one of my smallest. Why? Well, he's got Social Security come in at around $1,500 a month. He's got an investment portfolio. He's in his late 60s. He's got an investment portfolio that's only about $390,000. Now, Louise, if you're like most people in the audience, and I can only say it because I've been in the profession so long, the phrase "only $390,000" only comes from people like me that have seen people with a lot more.
Right. That's right.
Because for about 90% of people in America, it's like, oh, just turn him off. What's he mean only $390,000?
Right.
That's a lot of. I always say a lot of money starts when you can buy dinner with it. But at any rate,
right.
So he chose. Now he was in the medical profession. He could have made a lot more money, but he bumped into a health problem, which ended up going away, that made him value his life more. He ran the numbers and said, you know what? I'm not working 80-hour weeks anymore. I'm going to walk now, and I'm going to open a little deli, and I'm going to enjoy cooking and seeing my clients every day. And then when I retire from that, I'm going to find a relatively inexpensive place to live, and I'm going to be happy with my $30,000 of annual income between my portfolio and Social Security. Okay, 30,000 is below, believe it or not, the mean income in America, which is around 51,000, I think. So some of income disparity is called choice. Kennon, you've got a daughter, right?
Yes.
I have two. Mine are 25 and 22. Is yours grown up yet?
No, she's 2 now.
All right. So
Two. Just take one of those 2s off the 22. My little grandbaby, one and only one I have, too. She's 2. And we want her to be savvy and learn about all of these things early in life.
Well, she is your granddaughter and his son, so I'm pretty confident she's going to end up savvy. You wouldn't let it happen otherwise. But
that's right.
But here's the point I'm making. Kennon.
Yes.
Whatever you're making now, I happen to know of a job, and it pays $100,000 a month, $1.2 million per year, and you happen to have the perfect resume for that job. Now there's a problem. You're going to need to relocate. And it's the type of job where I'm afraid you're going to be out maybe on an oil rig or something, and you can't bring your daughter with you, so you're not going to see her for a few years.
Right.
Is that enough money? I picked a big number. I probably should have said 200,000 or something. But we make decisions on where we work and turn down a promotion or turn down a raise because why? Some people look at people like that and say, "What were you thinking?" No. They've got it right. They're thinking my life and my time are worth more than my money. If I'm going to sell that, I'm not going to sell so much that I lose myself.
Right.
Absolutely. That's important. You said a mouthful, Paul, because a lot of people do. We lose ourselves into things, and we have to really be able to set priorities. And I'm so glad you're on this show, and because of the younger generation now. I mean, we have to look at the retirement too, and we'll talk about that. But the younger generation, it appears that many of us don't think while we're young, because we think, I have a lifetime to live. I'm invincible. I don't have to worry about all that stuff right now. I'm only 20 years old. So when should you start investing?
Well, ideally, your parents start when you're 2.
Okay.
Hint, hint. I'm kidding. And then as you, here's the real key. Here's the real key. It's a habit that you start early. And you can start this you don't have to wait for your first job. Grandma gives you $50 for your birthday, and you put 10 of it in the bank or more. And then you go buy something you want with the rest. But you always save first.
Right.
And then when the savings have built up enough, you invest. But I want to address the younger generation. I did a show, 6-7 weeks ago, because I've seen this a lot in my career, where a wealthy person will say about their grandchildren and the millennial generation, they just have no clue.
What age is the millennial generation, Paul, by the way? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what age group is that? The millennials?
I knew you were going to ask me that, because my daughters were born in the early 90s, and I think they may be Generation X. I don't recall whether millennials mean those born in 2000 or those who became adults in 2000. Right. But the millennial generation, one of us can look it up while we're chatting here. To answer your question, I'm not really sure, but the generation I'm talking about are the kids that are now 15 to 25, and everybody thinks they're clueless. They never have any money. They blow all of it. I mean, what kind of a society are we going to have? Well, I want you to think back. It's funny how we forget things. I want you to think back. I asked one of my clients who was just on a roll, and I don't blame her completely, about a grandchild that is like, they have no clue. What was your mother, Louise's cell phone bill? Kennon, your grandmother, grandmother.
My mother didn't have a cell phone. They weren't even
That's right.
out.
And what did she pay for a MacBook back then?
Right.
No,
Okay.
they weren't exist either.
And how much was her health insurance premium per month?
She
See,
didn't
here-
have a
here-
premium health insurance.
That's right. And so my point is, now I am not knocking my grandparents and older generations, given that my average client is in their late 60s, so that would be a really dumb thing for me to do. But I'm not knocking the hardworking generations of the past. The point I'm making is it's been different for every generation than it was for the one before them as we've gotten more luxuries, as our lifestyle has improved. And to be perfectly frank, you don't want to, now, your child doesn't necessarily have to have the top of the line computer for $5,000 or something, but to a certain degree for job hunting and everything else, you got to have a cell phone and a computer. So here's what's interesting. There's some research that says that the millennials are quietly saying about us, because I'm 54, are saying about us, you people didn't know what you were doing. I'm going to save some money.
Right.
And there's a higher percentage than we think. And the reason is because they know they have to, because they're looking at their mom and dad. Listen, one of the biggest issues over the past decade or so, and it has not changed, to retiring early, and it's the one everybody forgets, is, okay, you're 57, you're going to retire. You do realize you can't have Medicare until you're 62. Or Social Security until you're 62, Medicare until you're 65.
Right. Just turned 65 and got Medicare, and it's so important for these young people to learn. And by the way, the millennial age is 1982 to 2004.
Oh, I'm so happy because I always say my kids are millennials, and you've just verified it. Thank you.
Wow.
But you know what happens is they go to retire, and they had no clue that even today, they're looking at a premium for, say, a 61-year-old or a 60-year-old for a silver plan, bronze plan. They're looking at $500, $600, $700, $800, $900 a month. Okay, that puts a real crimp into most people's idea of retiring early. It's a big expense. And so I think when we look at the millennials, what we need to focus on is encouraging them. And you can give them some sass if they deserve it, but to a certain degree say, look, I know you've got it tougher than me. I love you. That's why I'm telling you need to do this.
Right.
I wish it wasn't the way it is. And if you're a millennial and somebody's jumping on you, maybe my daughters are listening, hey, Dad, what did you have to pay for college? Well, I paid $36 a credit hour for my master's at Florida State. Thank you very much. Dad, do you know what tuition is now? It is a world where we should be concerned about those costs.
Yeah.
But
we really should be.
Yeah, they are what they are right now, and you sort of gotta, by the way, is a very formal phrase I learned in academia. You sort of gotta just recognize it and deal with it. But the reason I said everybody is wealthy now and can be later from a money standpoint is the bottom line is this. If you find a way to spend less than you earn, and you start that as young as possible, you will be ahead of most everybody else.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let's say you're listening to the show, you love Aim to Purpose, you tuned in tonight, you're thinking, oh, great, an investment guy, money, oh boy. I'm 50, I know it's too late for me. No, it probably isn't. It depends on what you're making.
Right.
If you've saved almost nothing and you've got a $150,000 annual salary, well, I got bad news for you. You're going to have some real makeup time. But if you're the average American and you're making around $50,000 and you're not spending 100% of it after taxes, there's still time because you don't need to produce. You don't need $2 million to retire. You need enough to generate. You need enough to generate the difference between Social Security and your income need. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that's what people need to understand. And I focus more on the younger generation, I think, and those people born like 1982. I have a son that was born, not Kennon, my younger son, 1981. He's 35, so these are people that are 1982. Year after him, they'd be like 34 down to the ones born in 2004. 14, I guess they'd be, 12 to 34. And it, like you said, start investing now. So the generation after millennials, though, I guess those are Generation Xers or whatever they are. I get confused on all these different generations. But in essence, are saying that anybody can become wealthy if they understand and they find the right chemistry of a person to work with in order to break this, investment phobia. We have to erase these fears and be able to have the lifestyle we want. And you don't have to work until you drop dead. I mean, literally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They work until they drop dead. And that's why it's so important to talk about money. People fear. Why do people fear money so much and get ourselves into these, the fear mode, the fear factor?
Well, I do have a theory on that. Now, I was raised, this would have been how I spoke, because I was raised by a Southern Baptist fundamentalist ordained minister of music who only preached sermons to his son. That would be me. And what he would say when he looked at money is it's evil.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And actually, my dad, he might accidentally say that, and he would correct himself. He would then say, well, actually, the scripture says the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right.
Now, don't.
Said that. I'm so glad you said that, Paul, because I grew up in Louisiana. I graduated from high school there and went to California. I've been in California practically all my life, almost 50 years. But that's what we grew up. I'm glad you mentioned this because I think that's why so many of us have struggles with money. And we have the fear because of how we've been conditioned to believe thoughts about money.
If
so
you have to,
going to take a break and come back and talk a little bit more about the money market and the stock market a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of people feel like if you have too much money, you can't be doing something legal.
You must be doing something wrong.
Right. You can't be doing something positive if you have millions of dollars in your bank account. People are afraid to ask the great creator for more than what you think you're supposed to have. The world is for all of us. There's more than enough.
Exactly.
There's more than enough to go around. There is no scarcity when we're always told that there is scarcity about everything, pretty much. And young people, I would say that it would be suggested to start living below your means for a while. A lot of people say live within your means, but you might want to take it a step further and live below your means so you can save even more to have that investment in whatever your endeavor is. Live below your means. It's okay. All those things that you think you need right now, they'll still be there.
Mm-hmm.
They'll still be there. You know, they're not going the stuff that we collect over years and years and years. All that stuff will be there.
And a lot of the stuff, like you were saying, Paul, about the evil, how you grew up. Elaborate a little bit more on that and talk about, and then we're going to go to a break and come back. Talk a little bit about why we buy so much stuff that's unnecessary that we don't need when we're wasting money, and we could be investing in that so we can retire at an early age or earlier in life before we are practically dead and ready to go to the grave.
Well, first of all, let me say I know some of this because I made the same mistakes. You know, where you buy something that I need this, and you come up with every reason in the world why you need it.
Right.
And then it's sort of like, well, you know what? If I had instead of buying the BMW, although funny enough, some of the cars are now more expensive than BMWs.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, but at any rate, instead of buying the $50,000 car because they financed it at such a good rate, I had to have it. You know, I bought the 20. Now, from a safety standpoint, okay, maybe you didn't want to buy the little tiny subcompact, but so you picked a car that was safe. But you say and I always hate this phrase. You saved $15,000 by buying the 20 instead of the 35. You didn't save anything. You didn't spend it. And what happens, Louise, is when you start that habit, and Kendall, the phrase I like is not live below your means. That sounds like a sacrifice to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's and I'm not knocking you. It's funny you said that because I've actually been giving this some thought recently.
Okay.
It's redefine your means.
Okay.
So the problem starts, for instance, with the income tax. You start a job making $24,000 a year. How much are you making per month? $2,000. $24,000 a year divided by 12 is $2,000. I'm making $2,000 a month. Probably before your first day on that job, you're going to move up to a better apartment. You're going to buy that car you've been putting off, and you're going to think, I'm getting $2,000 a month. Well, then you get your first paycheck, and guess what? It's not the $1,000 for the half a month. It's more like $733 or something. Well, where'd the other money go? Well, taxes, withholding, your cost of benefits, whatever. And then you have that realization, oh boy, I just signed a lease, I did this, I did that. And it starts us down the road to not having money. Whereas if you redefine it and you teach your children, when you get that first job and they tell you the salary is going to be this, you look them dead in the eye and say, I can't wait to come and do my best for this company. Can you tell me what my net take home will be?
Right.
And then multiply whatever that is times the number of pay periods, and don't think of your salary as 24. Think of it as 18.
Now that makes sense. Redefine your means. I love that. And with that said, let us take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to have you back on the show because we have so much, and I wanted to cover more about what you just talked about and the evil of money. We've talked about that, the evil thoughts we have about money, how we were conditioned. And we can come back, if you would come back to the show, we can talk about the stock market and the older people investing. Now I'm more interested in the young. So can we take a break and maybe we can have you back to talk about that because we want to talk more about this redefining your means. So we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and elaborate a little bit more on how to have the power you need to get wealthy. So is that okay? Let's take a break. And
That's perfect.
It's Aim to Purpose, the radio show. It's Investophobia, erasing investment fears and reaching financial freedom with our special guest, Paul E. Puckett Jr. Don't you go nowhere.
This edition of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, is brought to you by L. Hicks Consulting Services. When you want the best in business coaching, life coaching, or perhaps your organization, business, or company is in need of a dynamic speaker for an upcoming workshop or seminar, contact Louise Hicks for L. Hicks Consulting Services at 1-562-310-1495. From anywhere around the world, that's 1-562-310-1495. For more information about Louise Hicks and her consulting services, visit her website at www.louisehicks.biz. Again, that's www.louisehicks.biz. Or call 1-562-310-1495. L. Hicks Consulting Services, where professionalism is top priority.
And we're back. No, go ahead.
We are back. And I'm so happy we're in 3 different time zones now. I'm in Texas in Central Time. We have Paul, our special guest. We're here talking about investophobia, erasing investment fears, and reaching financial freedom, who is in Florida on Eastern Time, and my son, Kennon, who is in California on Pacific Time.
Right.
But we're all on the same page, and Paul has given us some great perspective on how to redefine your means. I love that. But we are going to have Paul back because we want to talk more about this, because people have so many fears about money, and that is really what blocks us and keep us from achieving real success. And I like what you said, Paul, about we're all successful because we are here, and that makes a huge difference. We are here. So when we left off, we were talking about how to well, you were elaborating on redefining your means. And that's a great, excellent point, because Ken had said to live below your means, but you're putting this in the proper perspective on how we look at the money we bring in. Is that correct, Paul? What we look at, not your gross amount of money, but you look at what your money you have to work with and redefine your means. I love that.
It's exactly, and it's you know, Ken, your point is still correct. I mean, it's living below your means. Right?
All I'm saying is just spend less, so you can save more. That's all.
Right. And the reason I redefine it the way I do is what I'm doing basically is saying, when you consider your means, if you're saving first, then saving and investing is a part of your means.
Okay.
Just like your clothing and your car and your, saving for kids' college and all that kind of stuff. And so it's to me, it's like anything else. If you plan to start a diet, is that really what you're doing? Are you starting a diet, or are you making a life change because you'd like to feel better? Right. It sounds hokey, but it's the same reason why money with an evil context, which, by the way, is in almost every major world religion, money is just this thing. We have our spiritual lives, we have our, family lives, and we have all these things that are our lives, and then money is this thing line over here. Excuse me. And when you think about it, maybe that's because money itself is not part of our life. It's a tool. It's just a tool.
That's right.
No different than a hammer. And so it isn't that it's evil at all. And it's that if you obsess with it, you're not going to be happy. And I'm telling you, the book is mainly about wealthy people, where I couldn't believe, hey, listen, if I bump into somebody, or at one point in my day in college, how are you going to make next month's rent payment? I don't know. I'm terrified. That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Hi, I've got 2 million. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. What did you say?
I've got $2 million. I'm terrified. Didn't make any sense to me.
I understand that makes sense, and the living below your means, and Ken is right, you do, but you put it in the perspective on how you live below your means is redefine what your means are, and each one of us as an individual has different means to redefine, because it depends on what you're bringing home and how you can invest. So everybody can invest, and they have to understand how you find somebody with that chemistry and that understanding. I like how you define that as well. So we're about to wrap it up here, I guess, and we want to have you back on the show, and what I'm going to do is get your book and read your book so we can get more into the retirement aspect of this investophobia, as well as the stock market, bond market part of it, because those are all important things. But of course, we can't discuss all that in 1 hour. We need time, and I would advise everybody to go out and get your book. So, Paul, can you give us some final thoughts, and also tell us how to reach you and how to get your book? Your book, because you have 2 here, right?
I do, but I'll confess in advance, the second book is only about 50 or 60 pages, and it's specifically for people age 50 and up who are either retired or thinking of retiring. And the reason it's short, it's to say, here's something you should beware that's coming, which is rare for me. I'm the guy that doesn't want you to have any fear, and I'm like, hey, here's something coming.
Right.
And it's short because it didn't need to be any longer. You know, and then Investophobia is actually a book. I mean, it's all stories. The parts on the fear, it's stories. Some of them will make you laugh. Some will make you say, oh, that's my aunt, you know, Susie, whatever. The book is on Amazon. My website, I'm crazy because I have a lot of websites, but the best website to find me on is www.puckett.com, because that points everywhere else. And I'd be happy to come back. You too, I think I told you, Louise, I listened to a few of your earlier shows just to get an idea of what have I gotten myself into. And you two would be welcome to hang out anytime. We may not agree on everything. I haven't found anything we don't yet. But,
right.
You know, I think we have a similar mission in that people need to recognize that resenting wealth, resenting not having it, that focusing on a fear, you know, you just weren't born in the right place. There's something wrong with you.
Right.
Well, actually, the only thing wrong is something you control. You got to let it go. Be who you are. And when you take those steps and you let go of the fear, and you don't, my swim coach used to always say, don't look in the other lane. Okay, just keep your head pointed towards the wall.
That's right.
Okay, don't look in the other lane. You know, don't let people pressure you.
Yep.
Be who you are.
Right? You can get distracted.
That's exactly right. You know, you try to keep up with the Joneses or something.
Yeah.
So no, I'd love to come back on, and I'm glad we covered the things we covered, because, you know, investment advisor from a regulatory standpoint means I manage money. But from a life standpoint, if life is more valuable than money, then my real mission is to try to get the money piece out of people's way so they can be happy. That's worth more than whatever they have.
And that happiness will bring you those riches that, you know, that will, you know, that you're looking for. Because a lot of people may not want to admit, but they do want money. We all want some kind of financial
security. That's part of living.
Yeah.
You need financial security,
and it's necessary. And it's
Absolutely.
necessary.
It's necessary, and Kennon, the thing to keep in mind is there's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
The issue is it needs to be a personal decision.
Right.
You know, I might decide I'm happy at a certain level of income. I don't want to do more.
Right.
I want to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a personal decision. And I shouldn't get mad at the guy down the street that has absolutely no life, but he's rolling in dough. It's called balance.
That's right.
I guess if I've got a message, Louise, Kennon, it's you've got to find a balance.
Absolutely. You're so right about that. You got to find a balance. And I had a fear of flying too, just to quickly say that, but I've come out of it because of some of the things, exactly what you said. It's so funny how I would just cringe. And after 9/11, I really wouldn't get on a plane for a while at all.
See, that's understandable.
We have years, and then we realize, like you've brought out so many good points, and you've been an excellent guest. We really appreciate it. We want everybody to go out and buy your books. I'm going to get both of them because I'm 65, so that tells me I need to get both books. I need to get Investophobia and Retirement Income Lock.
I may send you a complimentary copy, Louise.
There you go.
Oh, that would be great then. I will give you all the information and I will read them. We'll have you back, and we're going to talk next time more about the stock market, because people are interested in these things and they need to know so that we can become wealthy and have a whole body happy feeling, as opposed to being miserable, worried about money and freedom and all of that. We thank you so much. And it's just a final quick thought you have, and
just wanted to say I really enjoyed being on the show, and I think you guys have a great mission, and I'm glad you're out there on Global Voice Broadcasting with aim to purpose. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we look forward to you coming back. And with that being said, to all of our guests, you have anything, Ken?
No, I'm good until next Monday, till next week.
Yeah, until next week, next Monday. We thank you all for joining us, and always remember, your power lies with you. Let it loose. Until next